It all began before the cameras had even begun to roll. It all began with a single bombshell claim and some behind-the-scenes rumors. Sources close to the production said that during the filming of episode 3, Erica boldly accused Mendeecees of having an affair in the past, causing the tension that had been building for months to finally explode. Insiders claimed that the atmosphere on set quickly deteriorated, but what happened next was not shown on television. It was overheard that one producer had lost it. "I kind of lost it," according to reports, as the crew rushed to calm things down. Mendeecees reacted with a furious outburst, even cursing at Erica. Erica isn't keeping silent this time, even if Mendeecees hasn't publicly discussed the event. She said in a mysterious message, "I stayed silent once, never again." Now, there are speculations that Erica is ready to go much farther. According to sources, she has told someone close to the cast, "If he wants to play dirty, I'll send him to jail this time." Fans are in disbelief. The family is in disarray. Yandandi is trapped in the midst of a storm that is no longer confined to the background. What is actually happening between Mendeecees and Erica? What is the extent of her willingness to go? Since season 13 began filming, the tension had been gradually increasing, hardly noticeable. However, nothing could have prepared anyone for the explosion that occurred in episode 3 behind the scenes. Erica showed up on set that morning with a steely purpose in her eyes, according to insiders. It's the kind of determination that results from months of unsolved issues and brewing animosity. Innumerable evenings had been spent mentally reliving events, reconstructing conversations and language fragments, and obsessing over every little detail until the recollection of past humiliation was more intense than ever. Drama is nothing new to her, and this time she was prepared to demand accountability at all costs, in addition to speaking her truth. Tension was in the air as the crew got ready to film a group sequence. Erica stood just away from the camera, listening closely with her ear glued to the phone. Among the team, whispers spread like wildfire. She is discussing with someone. Legal action. The actual action was taking place out of sight, but the cameras were rolling. Unaware that the confrontation was about to break, a producer asked for silence. The situation began with planned, courteous greetings, light-hearted banter, and flimsy smiles, but then Erica dropped her clipboard to the ground with her eyes flashing. Every head turned as the sound reverberated around the studio. Her steady, quiet voice was the only sound to break the heavy silence. "This is no longer what we do." DC was taken by surprise and looked at her with a mixture of astonishment and a more sinister sense of fear. Maybe he made an effort to reply, but his words fell flat. He murmured something beneath his breath, according to a source. Then the air was broken by a single profanity. Erica's look remained unwavering, and a close assistant cameraman claimed to have heard him exclaim, "You've lost your mind." Leaning forward, she spat out the charge she had practiced for months. LHHNY, seated across from them, looked shell-shocked, her cheeks burning like a flame, tears threatening to spill. She had heard rumors about an old pregnancy claim, but she had convinced herself it was ancient history. "You know why I'm here? You know exactly why." Crew members exchanged perplexed looks, unsure whether to intervene or continue filming. "I thought we were past this," she whispered, her voice cracking. "I thought it was all done," Yandi realized. The wound had never healed as Erica's words cut through the tension, and she attempted to stand to speak, but her legs felt weak. She would later confess in her confessional that she had felt betrayed not only by her husband's silence, but also by the crew's earlier jokes and dismissals. Producers rushed in, arms outstretched, trying to calm the storm. One of them, pale-faced, grabbed Erica's arm, lest she urged him to take a break. But Erica shrugged and said, "No breaks until he answers for what he did." "We can handle this off camera," muttered another producer as he attempted to escort Mendeecees away. The entire set caught its breath for a time as Mendeecees stood his ground, chest heaving, and looked at the cameras and then at the crew as if considering his options. Inside the editing room, technicians exchanged anxious glances. Social media was ablaze with speculation. Had Erica really threatened legal action? Was Mendeecees concealing something unspeakable? What role had Yandi played by keeping quiet for so long? The family was split. The footage of Erica's confrontation was invaluable. But would the network allow such unscripted chaos? Fans are shocked. That real emotions erupted with such ferocity, leaving even seasoned reality stars reeling. Trust broke down along unanticipated fault lines. Outside the studio walls, whispers became roars. Audio snippets of Erica's clip demand and Mendeecees' shocked curse made their way to blogs and gossip sites. Headlines blared. Mendeecees' unexpected meltdown and Erica's explosive breakdown. Supporters enthusiastically chose teams unfairly ambushed, and Team Yandi for bearing the fallout in almost complete silence. Comments flooded in. "I can't believe he cursed at her. She finally got her moment. Yandi deserves an apology." Motions ran high across digital battlegrounds. Cast friends are split. Few in an attempt to determine whether it was a real outburst or a calculated move for ratings. One insider claims Rashida pulled Erica aside after the scene. Another confidant claims that Scrappy approached Mendeecees privately and advised him to make a public statement before the rumor mill destroyed them. All. However, Mendeecees, true to form, refused to speak and withdrew into silence like a fortress. Yandi, meanwhile, retreated to her trailer, shaken to her core. And a crew member found her moments later, head in her hands, trembling. Erica reportedly responded, eyes blazing. "I'm only doing what he should have done years ago. Take responsibility." She muttered, "I just want answers," in response to the question of what she required. As the adrenaline of episode 3's shoot came to an end, Erica withdrew to a quiet corner, the weight of her actions finally sinking in, and she gazed at the overturned clipboard on the floor, a simple prop-turned symbol of a refusal to play along. Her vulnerability only heightened fan fascination, as the rawness of her pain was indirectly conveyed through shaky behind-the-scenes clips, making viewers wonder how long Yandi had known about the affair rumors, what she had gone through in private, and why she continued to support Mendeecees. The notice had never been filed yet. She had kept her thread in reserve, revealing it at the right time. The sun dipped low outside the studio windows. The lot. Lights dimmed as crews wrapped up for the day, but the tension lingered like smoke. Her assistant came over and handed her a folded piece of paper, which, according to sources, contained contact information for a lawyer Erica had consulted weeks earlier. Her lips curled into a small, knowing smile. Continued Erica's final words. To a shocked GRIP team member reverberated down the hallway. "This isn't over until he faces the music." She then strode off, heels clicking on the concrete, leaving behind a set that was shattered by unspoken guilt, rage, and a desire for justice. Inside the deserted soundstage, a single clipboard lay unused, pages fluttering in the breeze from a stray door left ajar. What's a silent testament to the battle lines drawn between Erica and Mendeecees, between Yandi's loyalty and her heartbreak, and between the polished reality the audience expected and the unvarnished truth. The set was eerily quiet the morning after episode 3 wrapped, with the usual buzz of activity replaced by hushed conversations and stolen glances. Erica arrived earlier than anyone else, her jaw set, determination flickering in her gaze. Darkness fell. The unanswered questions floated through the halls, demanding resolution. One thing was clear, though. No one on that set would sleep easy until the fallout was fully exposed. Everyone knew was more than reality TV drama. It felt personal, as if a dam had burst and waterlogged every corner of the day. The shoot was a group dinner scene meant to showcase reconciliation and laughter, but instead it looked like a powder keg. She had asked for a private meeting with production, and word began to circulate that she intended to present proof of Mendeecees' betrayal. Crew members wondered if she would finally reveal the hospital bills she'd hinted at or produce eyewitness statements. The director called action, and for a moment, everyone followed the script, polite smiles, blinking glasses, the usual banter until Erica leaned forward and said, "Cheers to truth." Mendez joined reluctantly, her palms sweating occasionally, looking at the folder as if it were a ticking bomb. The mood broke. Mendeecees said, his voice shaking as he stammered, "Why can't we simply get over this?" Erica's response was incisive. "Because you were never honest." Yandi clattered her fork on her plate and looked from Erica to Mendeecees' teary eyes. "We're on TV," she muttered. "Not in a courtroom, you hoarse voice." With microphones recording every word, the crew held their breath. In a shaky camera shot, Yandi was seen getting up from her seat with her shoulders heaving. "I can't do this," she said, pushing her chair back so hard that it scraped the floor. She then stormed out, leaving a stunned room and an empty chair. Behind, production stopped to calm the cast, and assistants hurried in with quiet words and water. Erica stood with her ground folder clutched to her chest, and Amends appeared shell-shocked, unable to look at anyone. Later, Erica's confessional showed the storm raging inside of her, and I saw Yandi cry because of his silence. Today was the first day, and although I pretended to be fine, I was angry on the inside. I felt liberated from his lies, and viewers would only witness the... Meanwhile, social media erupted, and within hours, clips of the outburst leaked online. Following Yandi's departure, hashtag Team EA trended alongside hashtag TMY Andy and hashtag Justice for Mendeecees. Fans expressed their outrage on Twitter, asking how he could remain silent. She finally stood up for herself. She deserves better. Celebrity accounts shared their thoughts, with some applauding Erica's bravery and others accusing her of fabricating drama for the sake of ratings. The family was split, friendships were put to the test. And even minor characters like Rashida and Scrappy, you could have stopped it. Silence is a choice too. Erica responded steadily. His shoulders sagged and he turned away without a word. As the sun set on that turbulent day, he confronted her in a deserted corridor. Crew members say his voice was low and desperate. "Is tearing us apart." Erica broke down for the first time in her confessional. In sharp contrast to her earlier fierceness, Yandi's tears glistened under the harsh fluorescent lights as she said, "I'm not a monster. I just want him to say it. I want validation that I wasn't crazy." The following morning, Yandi arrived on set alone, her shoulders slumped, avoiding her husband's gaze and instead concentrating on reflection in a compact mirror. "I need time," she said to a friend, her voice shaking. In the midst of the chaos, production executives gathered to determine how much of the off-camera drama to include in future episodes. Some argued for transparency, believing viewers craved authenticity, while others feared the network might pull the plug if legal implications became too serious. Fans speculated online that she might file for separation, while gossip blogs suggested secret counseling sessions. Insiders whispered that Yandi felt betrayed by both Erica and Mendeecees. Torn between loyalty to her spouse and sympathy for the woman he'd allegedly wronged, producers could be heard arguing in the hallways about whether the scandal would increase ratings or lead to lawsuits, which only increased the tension and drew all of the cast members into an unspoken alliance or a feud. By midday the next day, the set had become a battlefield of whispers and alliances. And Erica's supporters gathered around her in the makeup trailer, promising to support her no matter what. Behind closed doors, Scrappy paced, divided between loyalty to his cousin Yandi and admiration for Erica's bravery. And Rashida, always the mediator, attempted to calm as cameras rolled again. The cast realized that this season's drama would not go away quietly because Erica refused to have a private meeting to work out the issues, insisting that Mendeecees face her in public. The cast performed with a tension that crackled louder than any special effect. And every line they said carried an undercurrent of unresolved pain, and every glance they made was weighted with unspoken guilt. The change was noticeable to viewers. At home because it was no longer scripted. The aftermath of the dinner scene lingered like a storm cloud, darkening every set interaction. Erica's eyes glinted with purpose as she moved through corridors, clutching the manila folder that had ignited the chaos. And with Erica's evidence folder looming as both symbol and weapon, one thing was certain: the fallout from Episode 3's revelations would redefine alliances, expose secrets, and keep audiences on the edge of their seats. He's going to lose it. Mendeecees paced inside his trailer doors, his closed voice raised in a muffled argument. No one knew to whom he was speaking, but some assumed it was his lawyer insisting he issue a public statement. His silence had changed from stubborn indignation to strategic avoidance, and that gap only made Erica smile. Yan Dai, still reeling from the betrayal revealed, found comfort in a makeup chair, eyes red-rimmed. Crew members exchanged theories during breaks, but no one felt certain how the confrontation would end. I've stood by him through hell and back. Now, I don't know if he's the man I married, she confessed to a friend, her voice barely above a whisper. Everyone's watching him, but who's watching me? Her vulnerability struck a chord with the crew, who had become used to her strength. That afternoon, a sound technician overheard her, practicing lines in the mirror, but not for any scene, but rather for a private monologue she intended to share in her confessional. I want included uncensored. At one point, Erica cornered a producer, sliding the folder across the desk again, insisting, "If viewers don't see the whole truth, we're just playing pretend." Yandi struggled with heartbreak, but Erica saw the story. "Let him sue," Erica responded, undeterred by the producer's hesitation and reminder of possible legal pushback. Then came the whispered rumor that changed everything again. An unaired audio clip of Mendeecees admitting guilt had surfaced online. LHHNY, recorded by a cast member's phone and played on late-night gossip shows, complete with shaky footage of Mendeecees' strained face. "We have the receipts," Crosat Scrappy said, admiring her as he watched her leave, admiration and unease swirling in his gaze. "In the video," he said, "I was wrong." His voice cracked as he said, "I should have done the test," but in the next breath, "can't deal with her drama." Fans fell into a frenzy, some hailing the audio as proof that Erica was right, and others dismissing it as selective editing. Could it be a setup or fake news? Where's the source? Comments raged across platforms, adding fuel to the fire. The leak rocked the studio. No one knew for sure, but the tension increased even more. Mendeecees, cornered by the flood of reaction, finally entered the cast lounge, his face pale, eyes darting across the room. And he cleared his throat before saying, "We need to talk." Cast members gathered in whispered circles, arguing over who could have recorded the conversation and why it was released. Rashida now suggested it might be a producer's ploy to boost ratings, while Bambi surmised it was a rogue crew member, weary of the conflict. Production staff arranged chairs in a semicircle, anticipation humming like an electric current, and the room crackled with unspoken accusations. The sudden announcement sent the cast scrambling to their places. Cameras were rigged. Mics hot. Mendeecees asked for a moment alone with Erica and Yandi before rolling. Yandi's breathing was shallow, as though she expected a final blow, and Erica's heart hammered against her ribs. "I never meant to hurt either of you," Mendeecees said, trembling as he looked at Yandandi and then at Erica. "No cameras. I just need to explain." With that, tension gave way to a fragile hush. Yandi's eyes welled with tears, and Erica folded her arms unreadably. He went on to say, "I admit I was scared, but I didn't. Music, are you prepared for the consequences?" His confession hung in the air, raw and heavy, and for a little minute, it seemed as though the conflict would move toward settlement. "So I ran and remained mute." "You didn't just run from me," Erica murmured gently. But she persisted, leaning forward, adding, "You too ran from her. You abandoned her to protect yourself on your own." To both women, I thought silence would protect us." Mendez hung his head and murmured, "I couldn't handle seeing the pain on your faces." Yandi winced at the insinuation, but said nothing. His avoidance had broken trust instead of restoring it. The women's faces were filled with raw emotion as they filed back onto the set. And Erica carried herself with quiet authority, her earlier anger replaced by a cold calm. Yandi's eyes glistened with tears as she heard the admission she'd longed for. But the hurt was too deep for immediate forgiveness. The private moment lasted only a few minutes before production stepped in and demanded retakes. Yandi looked exhausted, but determined, as if she had crossed to the cameras returned. But the scene's scripted lines now rang hollow beneath the undercurrent of truth. Later in her confessional, Erica reflected on the exchange. "I didn't want his apology, I wanted his accountability." Her words resonated, fueling fan discussions until dawn. Mendeecees walked behind them, shoulders hunched, the first sign of humility he'd shown all season. Throughout the evening, #MenDeeceConfession trended alongside #EricaRevenge, illustrating the chaos unfolding as emotions simmered into unrest and the cast prepared for the next day's shoot. Unsure of what drama would surface, "I'm not proud of," "hiding," "I should have been honest," submission further divided audiences. Some referred to it as a turning point, while others saw it as damage control. As the sun sank below the horizon, the battle for justice, forgiveness, and validation was far from over. Behind the scenes, networks argued over how much of the private meeting to air. Erica's folder remained both a symbol and a threat. Mendeecees. Audio leak had widened the chasm, and Yandi's loyalty hung in the balance, her trust irrevocably shaken. Alliances had changed, secrets spilled. And every cast member felt the weight of a story that had slipped beyond television into real lives. Erica spent her break pacing outside her trailer, mentally reliving Menda's apology. Awa! A single tear trickled down her cheek, but her jaw stayed set. She wasn't looking for sympathy. She was seeking justice and closure. Tension hung in the air like an unspoken promise of more conflict to come. The tension horizon lights burned bright, casting long shadows across the soundstage. Inside the green room, Yandi sat by herself on a soft couch with headphones over her ears. Trying to block out the clamor of gossip around her, she listened to a mindfulness app, but each calming chime only served to highlight how loud her own thoughts were. She remembered Mendeecees' agonized face, interspersed with a glimpse of Erica's unblinking gaze. And she understood that forgiveness would not be simple, and that loyalty had become a complicated web of love, hurt, and uncertainty. She took a deep breath, closed her eyes, and swore to put safety first, no matter where her heart led. Within hours, news of Mendeecees' confession and the leaked audio had reached fans all over the world. An anonymous account claimed that Erica had hired a private investigator to track Mendeecees' past movements, unearthing evidence of secret meetings and unreported phone calls. The rumor sent viewers into a frenzy, and they demanded footage of the investigation. Producers panicked, fearing that unsubstantiated material might invite lawsuits before this season even aired. Meanwhile, Raw gathered her closest allies, Rashida and Bambian, in a quiet corner of the lot and laid out a plan. She would use the network's legal department to formalize her claims, explaining that if Mendeecees didn't give in to a cease and desist letter demanding a public acknowledgement of her ordeal and a formal apology that would be shown on camera, she would proceed with pressing charges related to emotional distress and defamation. "I want the world to know," she said quietly, "that my pain isn't just entertainment." Her friends exchanged cautious looks, understanding the risk that a full-blown legal battle could permanently split the cast. The director was uncertain whether to cut when Erica appeared behind him, folder in hand, towering over his shoulder. "You forgot something," she said, her voice steady, and Mendeecees froze, the words hanging between them. Mendeecees, unaware of the details, sensed the shift in his energy. He came on set for a solo confession, but the cameras caught more than his prepared lines. In the break room, crew members gathered around monitors, stunned by the intrusion. I had witnessed actors clash before, but never like this. Never with legal stakes hanging over every word on camera. A sound engineer muttered, "This is going to change the game." Microphones unintentionally recorded every breath he took, and the moment had the charged electricity of a live wire snapping into it, threatening to ignite the entire set. As videos of Erica's disruption went viral, viewers argued on social media about whether Erica had pushed her way into the spotlight, or if the network had staged it for dramatic effect. The stakes had never been higher. Everyone agreed, and Yen, Dai, attracted by the commotion, followed the trail of whispers to the edge of the set, where she watched from a distance as Erica held up a page from the private investigator's report. With her fingers tracing lines of text, she gasped quietly and turned away, tears in her eyes. Alone with herself, she found herself burdened by her husband's secrets. In order to explain her own part in this unfolding story, she sought out a producer, determined to find her own microphone and correct the record before Yandi could step in. Mendeecees fled the scene, his face etched with pain and humiliation as he made his way through cables and lights. Erica watched him go, her expression unreadable, and behind him, Yandi came out, wiping her cheeks with the back of her hand. After a moment, she approached Erica and asked, "Can we talk?" Her voice trembled as she asked. "You're right," Erica said, nodding, her shoulders sagging for the first time. "I don't know how to be with him anymore. I feel like everything we had is built on lies." Erica turned, the folder still tightly gripped, and studied Yandi for a long moment before closing the distance between them. Their conversation was quiet, carried on the breeze of a cool evening. "And he must understand that you are more than just a byproduct of this situation." That quiet conversation, driven by mutual betrayal, created a tenuous alliance. A heartbeat passed while they stayed. The consequences of one man's secrets bind to women. Shaken and unkempt, DC withdrew to his trailer on stage. A bottle of water was slid across his desk by an assistant. Head in hands, he sat ponderously. There was a knock on the door. His brother was providing assistance. Their voices were muffled as they chatted softly. Mendeecees said inside, "I didn't anticipate it progressing this far. I believed that an apology would suffice." His brother gave a headshake. He said, "You underestimated her. You now have to deal with the repercussions." A dim camera light flickered outside the trailer as someone filmed through the windscreen. There was no way out, not even in his refuge. The network held an emergency meeting with the cast in a huge conference room as darkness fell. At the front, executives stood with solemn expressions. They spoke to the camera crews, reminding them of the dangers of defamation and the significance of adhering to network policies. As they established ground rules, the room was alive with anxious energy. No cameras after this. Attorneys would observe every script meeting in the future, and any discovered off-camera film would be examined for compliance. In the back row, Mendeecees' lawyer and Erica's legal advisor nodded curtly at each other. Torn between fear and support, Yandi sat between them, her gaze focused on the table. Following the formalities, Erica was approached in private by the head of production for the network. Yandi, on the other hand, paced past her own vehicle while holding her phone tightly. She read through a barrage of hurtful and encouraging social media remarks. A comment struck her, and she paused. This fairy tale disaster is not fair to Yandi. She let out a breath and looked up at the starry sky, seeking insight. She realized then that the decisions they made when the world wasn't there would determine the next chapter of their lives. It's not cameras or network editors. As he sat behind the wheel of his car, watching Dot, with the motor running, Mendeecees closed his eyes and reflected on the man he had been before scandal and celebrity. His thumb hovered over Yandi's number as he went for his phone and opened a contacts list. Rather than phoning, the private investigator's report file was erased from his screen. It was an insignificant deed, a flimsy apology. Rebuilding trust would need more than words or legal paperwork, he realized as he wiped his fingers across his face. Real change would be necessary. The lot became quiet as the night dragged on. Lights went out on sound stages and trailers one by one. However, the reverberations of the conflicts that day persisted, embedded into the very structure of the location where performance and reality met. The manila folder sat idle in the deserted hallways. Its weight on Erica's desk serves as a reminder of both past and future struggles. The drama was far from over, even though the cameras had stopped rolling. And everyone knew that when morning came, the battle for truth, atonement, and forgiveness would resume under the merciless scrutiny of both public scrutiny and studio lights, with legal storms gathering and emotions running high. Episode 3's aftermath is gone. Everyone is in shock, and there are more and more inquiries. You've heard Mendeecees own his errors, seen Yandhi torn between astonishment and loyalty, and watched Erica lay forth all the proof behind closed doors. Is the situation truly resolved by an apology and a hastily removed investigation file, though? The suspense increases as the cameras pause. Will Erica fulfill her vow to file a lawsuit and make men deal with repercussions outside of reality TV? Is it possible for Yandhi to regain trust? Or is the gap too great to cross? What about the audio clip that was leaked? Was it an actual slip, a setup, or just another layer of intrigue in this story with big stakes? Don't assume that this story is coming to an end. The network is currently editing the program for next week to include